Hey guys, welcome back to 48 Minutes or Less, your podcast for all things NBA in less than 48 minutes. I'm Lewis, and joining me today, as always, are Sawyer and George. So for this week's episode, this will actually be our second episode of the week. George mentioned that in Monday's release. And what we're going to do is we created kind of like resolutions with it being the new year and to celebrate the beginning of the new year for each team, looking kind of what each team could do for the rest of the season and maybe the off season as well, and how they could build towards the future. So what we did was we're going to break this up into two episodes. We'll release this one today, and then the next one will probably come out around Tuesday of next week. We'll probably do the Eastern Conference in this one, or we will be doing the Eastern Conference in this one, and then on Tuesday's release, we'll be going over the Western Conference resolutions. So what we did was we just did all 15 teams, and then we're going to release them alphabetically, except for the Nets, because we are actually using New Jersey Nets, not Brooklyn Nets. So they will come out after the Bucks. So, Sawyer, if you want to take us away with the first resolution.
First off, let's just say that, this is all Lewis's fault for putting Brooklyn so far down on the list. We'll just blame him for it. Can't believe he thought that the Nets were in New Jersey still.
No, it was the list I pulled it from in alphabetical order. Yeah, because it's too hard to alphabetize the NBA on your own.
I know, it's so hard. So, obviously, since A is the first letter in the alphabet, we got the Atlanta Hawks. And for their resolution for the remainder of this season / off-season / beginning of next season, in a way, is that they should find a solid veteran player. And maybe that person is maybe either a backup ball handler, or they also find a backup ball handler for when Trae Young isn't on the floor, or he happens to get injured for a game or two or a few games.
Yeah, the thing with Atlanta is they have so many problems and so many holes, especially on the defensive end, that I think what they need to do is take it one step at a time and find, I think the main step would be maybe finding a backup point guard or a starting shooting guard that's more, I guess they have Kevin Huerter, but some guy who's more, if they could somehow, because they have a lot of money this offseason, if they could get Fred VanVleet, that would probably, as their starting two guard or even their backup guard, alongside Trae, I think what he can offer as a ball handler and then as a defensive player.
Yeah, and he also brings some veteran stability to that team as well.
He's like young, but like old for his age because he's been through a lot, already winning a championship and everything. He could bring that veteran stability.
And he also has that, because he went from, he was like second round or undrafted or whatever, and like found his own way into the league. He works hard. And I think that would do a lot for that team. That's actually not a bad idea. If Toronto was willing to let him go, they're going to throw everything they can at him, I feel.
Yeah, my only thing is I wouldn't be surprised if Atlanta gave him $30 million.
Yeah, but let's see. George, you want to take us on to the next team?
So the next team is the Boston Celtics, and for the resolution, I said that their goal right now is to try and load manage Gordon Hayward and Marcus Smart as much as possible because they're both injury prone, so that they are healthy come the postseason. I think Marcus Smart is one of the most important players with his ability to defend multiple positions and how he's a streaky shooter and a decent ball handler. And then Gordon Hayward as their secondary ball handler is super important. In my opinion, like when we talking about the trades, even how important he was to the Boston Celtics' success. And because they also bring that veteran presence the team needs come the postseason. And so that, to me, would be their primary goal, because their other thing would be getting a rim protector. But when we talked about trades, we saw how hard that could be with how many young players they have and the money.
Yeah, I think that if they're looking to get a rim protector, they're better off waiting until the off season and beyond. I don't know if they'll be able to find one for this season, which is unfortunate. But I agree with trying to load manage Gordon Hayward and Marcus Smart because, you never know what can happen in the playoffs sometimes. Ideally, without like a true rim protector, they're not going to go far. But, you might as well try to limit some of their minutes as best you can, hopefully.
Yeah, especially Gordon Hayward. He's been having apparently issues with the ankle where he had the break a couple of years back. So just kind of load manage him. I don't think they need him necessarily in the regular season to win, though. He's way more important come playoffs with what he can provide as a ball handler and as a passer that they don't get out of anybody outside of Kemba. So my first team was the Charlotte Hornets. I think that they should keep developing the young guys like Devontae Graham, Miles Bridges, PJ Washington, and then as well as look to move some of those veteran pieces for at least future picks. Maybe not. I don't think guys like Marvin Williams or Nicholas Batum or Biyombo. I'm not sure if they'll be able to get any picks for like Nicholas Batum or Biyombo, but kind of just move out of those contracts and pave the way for these new guys for what is the future of the Charlotte Hornets.
Well, I mean, I feel like they could probably get something for Marvin Williams. I think he could help a team win.
Yeah. For Marvin Williams, I think they could at least get like a second-round pick or something.
A lot of their contracts also come off the books here soon. So, I mean, worst case scenario, they won't be on the team. Ideally, you want to get something for them, but at least it's not like you have like 3-4 years left of this really bad deal. Like, I'm pretty sure it's just this year, if not one more year after this. Because it was 2016, so it would either be this year or next year at the end.
Yeah,
of it.
I think they're gonna have a pretty open cap space this summer. My only concern is for them signing like players for too much money, like they did in 2016. But maybe they learn from their mistakes.
Yeah, I think like actually trying to rebuild is, the right route to go. You have some good, solid young pieces. Let them develop. Find some others.
Exactly. Well, you want to move on with your next team, sir?
Yeah. So my next team will be the Chicago Bulls, and I honestly think they just need to find a better playmaking point guard. I don't think Kobe White is that bad. I just don't think he's that great of a playmaker, and they don't really have like their best playmaker. I would say is like Wendell Carter, and he's your big man.
I guess Thomas Satoransky, maybe.
I guess, but is he your future? He's not really your future.
No, not really.
And so I don't know where they're kind of going. They traded for Otto Porter last year, and everybody was like, "That's like I understand why you did that," but on the flip side, it's kind of like that doesn't seem to jive well with a rebuild in a way. Paying all that money for that kind of guy.
How are you valuing Kobe White?
I don't know what to make of him at this time. I mean, I hope he can like develop better and be a better playmaker because point guards tend to develop better later on. But you can't like Levine isn't like he would be fine if they had another like playmaking guard or even like a playmaking like small forward or forward. I mean, like I don't think you can run it through Wendell Carter. I don't think he's that kind of guy to be able to run an offense through him.
He's Al Horford-esque, but he's not Al Horford. Is kind of how I look at it. Al Horford can run a pretty good offense by himself.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, like I said, I don't think Kobe White is bad. I don't think he's necessarily the answer if you need playmaking. You can't have everybody in your team having either like less than 4 assists a game. Like it just doesn't work.
That what that reminds me of? The next team on the list, which George has the honor.
Yeah, the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I think for their resolution, they should properly learn to value their trade assets so they don't ask for too much from Kevin Love and Tristan Thompson and then not trade any of them away. And then I think they need to acquire a ball handler that can actually pass. So what's weird is they traded Jordan Clarkson for Dante Exum, and maybe they're hoping that could be Dante Exum. I just don't think so. And Jordan Clarkson was probably their best like ball handler on that team that could actually pass. He averaged more assists than both their two guards. So they should try to acquire a player like that. The problem is, I don't know if there are any out there that people are looking to trade with.
It seems like you guys both had like pretty much the same basic idea for Chicago and Cleveland. Find a point guard that can actually play make for others and not just shuck up every shot they get.
I think the difference, though, between Chicago and Cleveland, I think Chicago needs one more right now. So, like, with Kobe White, they have a point guard, but Kobe White's still young. They might need a player that's good right now because they do have playoff hopes in general. And the East is still pretty open. They have a shot. They're like the 9th seed. But with the Cleveland, trying to get picks maybe because this is going to be a guard-heavy draft. So maybe draft another point guard. Even though the last 2 drafts have been point guards, but they just don't know how to pass at all.
There are a lot of guards in the beginning of this year's draft. LaMelo Ball could be somebody they could possibly be looking at.
I would think that they need to go, I think, the opposite route and maybe look at their future big men. I mean, if they're looking at trading Kevin Love and Tristan Thompson, they need to have a future there. I think that, honestly, their best bet might be to just see how Colin Sexton and Darius Garland develop. Like I said before, like, point guards tend to develop better later on. And I think they have too many other holes on their team to be like, all right, we're just going to go best player available, and it happens to be a guard here at the top of the draft. Like sometimes you say when you're that bad, you just take the best player available and make it work. But they're so barren of assets and for their future. Chicago's more of a complete team right now. I can understand them like taking another chance on another guard in the draft at the top of a draft, for instance, because they have other positions that are filled. I don't think that Cleveland has any other positions that are filled.
Well, what did they get a big man? What did they get a big man that's like a rim running big man that's like a solid lob threat? They don't have any guards that can actually set up a lob for him. They don't have anyone that they can run pick and roll with, or anyone they can actually run successful pick and pops with, because they just don't know how to pass. And guards do develop later, but in the last couple of years they've actually been developing earlier, and you sort of see flashes, right? And in Kobe White you can see some of the flashes, but when I look at Darius Garland, when I look at Sexton, I don't see any flashes of them being able to properly learn how to become better passers. And they both seem more like undersized shooting guards to me.
Yeah, so like while I think that they do have holes, I don't necessarily think that they should go draft a guard or trade for a guard, because you can find that like lead ball handler that can pass and stuff in a lot of small forwards today. Guys like Luka that are small forward size but play like guards. And with the center thing, so I think that's where they should look, is at wings, like a wing that can handle the ball. With centers, I just feel like you can just find centers anywhere nowadays. I mean, Aaron Baines looks great in fucking Phoenix. That's how easy it is to find a center.
I just think that like I said, just finding a big man doesn't need to be a center, but like I mean, it could be a power forward. They just need to figure out other positions. I just don't think that they have. I don't think they have enough holes filled to be like, we could take a chance on another point guard or another guard in general. That's all I'm going to say about that. That's just how I feel.
I just always think about, if you don't draft the best player available, you're the Portland Trailblazers and you missed out on Michael Jordan because you already had a guard. That's how I always think about it. With big men, I just think it's so easy to overpay for big men or overvalue big men, which is my next team. What I think that they're going to end up doing, and what I wish they don't, is the Detroit Pistons don't sign Drummond and just fucking rebuild. That's it. Like, they keep trying to push it away, and what are they? They barely make the playoffs. They're always fighting for the last inch of their lives to make the playoffs. So probably miss the playoffs this year. Trade Andrew Drummond before he even has the idea to take that player option. So and don't like have him say, hey, we're gonna re-sign you for 5 more years if you decline. Just hopefully you can trade him before he takes that player option, and like try to trade Blake Griffin, because with each passing minute he is tanking his value. He looks awful. I don't know how they can do it, but like they need to start thinking about, like, the only young prospect they have to show in the last 5 years is Luke Kennard.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue for them has been their player development more than anything else. They just haven't been able to develop any pieces that are their own. Like, Stanley Johnson was a complete bust. And then, like, Luke Kennard, up until this year, you were just like, I mean, was he even worth the pick? So, I mean, they need to do a better job of who they choose and how they develop them, I think. Just because, like, that adds, no matter what, that adds cheap depth to your team.
The problem with them, too, is that since they've been in purgatory for so long, even when they do get picks, they're like, what, the 8th, 9th, 13th pick or whatever. So they haven't really, since they've been in that, like, fringe playoff, they haven't, it's the same issue that Charlotte had for a really long time, is they haven't had the possibility to have a chance of a great lottery pick. So, and it's like, just call it quits, man. Just start building.
What was their pick this year? Sekou Doumbouya? I think Sekou Doumbouya is young. I think he has potential.
He might have potential, yeah, but they suck at developing their talent.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's kind of weird that we talked about trades in the last podcast and we didn't even bring up like Blake Griffin or Andre Drummond. I think if they do blow it up, try to trade both of them. Blake Griffin's going to be hard to trade.
I think he's like the 7th or 9th, something like that, highest paid player in the NBA right now. And he's playing like a bench player. And then Andre Drummond might actually have more value, trade value, but I don't know if any team's willing to pay for him, or they think he's the answer that they need.
I think another team that has to kind of figure out what they're going to do big man wise might be Indiana, because I think they need to decide if to Turner and Sabonis together are their future or not. I mean, I still think this year it's so hard to tell because you haven't had Victor Oladipo, you haven't had your full team. I think that depending upon how they finish the year with and hopefully if Oladipo does come back, if they play well, because I think they're starting to kind of get the idea of how to play them together. But I think this next season is going to be really the determining factor. And this time next year, we could be talking about which one of these two are they going to have to trade, like 100% have to trade, because it's just not working out. But I think once they have Oladipo, and they'll have Oladipo, Brogdon, maybe TJ Warren again, with Sabonis and Turner and whoever else they have, maybe they could finally figure it out and actually be like a dark horse team in the East.
Yeah, I found it really hard for me to see them doing something before the offseason, because with Oladipo coming back so close to the trade deadline, and at the end of the day, they see him as their number one player. So like Sabonis might be having a great year, but then Oladipo comes back and you're like, holy crap, like Sabonis just doesn't play well with Oladipo. So we should move Sabonis, not Miles Turner. And maybe they all come back and they play really well and they do really well in the playoffs, and you're like, we don't need to move either. We can keep both Sabonis and Oladipo. And Turner. So I could see this happening more like a decision either they make at sometime next season or in the offseason.
Yeah, and I mean, on another note too, I think that because of Brogdon being injured somewhat this year and them not having Oladipo and stuff has actually helped them in a way, because like they've been able to have like Aaron Holiday get actually some good playing time in more than he did last year, and he's actually been doing pretty well. And TJ McConnell in limited time has done pretty well too. So I think there are some benefits for teams that are dealing with injuries to being able to see what other players they have and how they look for their team in the future.
My thing is, to be frankly honest, I think that they both looked pretty bad, which is weird to say because Sabonis is putting up like really large numbers. He's like 17 points per game, almost 14 rebounds per game or whatever. But his efficiency has taken like a huge dip. He was 63% true shooting last year. Now he's like at 55, almost below league average. And Sabonis, and then Miles Turner just can't stay healthy. And he still hasn't really developed that three-point shot that people really want him to have. And I just don't know if either are actually the answer for when you're at the highest level. Miles Turner's offensive game is really lacking, and Sabonis, whenever they play really good teams, Sabonis has to be taken out at the end of the fourth quarter because he can't stay on the floor. So maybe the answer isn't Miles Turner or Sabonis. It's Gogo Betadze, whatever his name is. But they extended both, so they have to decide between them. That's kind of how it comes down to.
I was kind of thinking before when I was like, because I feel like Sabonis right now is a better player than Miles Turner, but it's almost like, is Miles Turner better for the Pacers? Because right now it seems like Sabonis is better, but they don't have Oladipo. So when Oladipo comes back, you're going to have Oladipo, you're going to have Warren, you're going to have Lamb, you're going to have Brogdon, so you don't necessarily need your big men to be that much of a scorer. And so then that's why Turner might be better for them in that case, because he can stretch the floor and he's a better defender than Sabonis. And in playoff minutes, can Sabonis stay on the floor? And I don't think he can.
I still think the jury's still out on them. Like I said, I still think the next part of the season will be a bigger test, especially this season and going into next season.
I think they need to figure it out.
Well, yeah, they do need to figure it out. But like the way I see it too is like, okay, Sabonis, sure, you could trade him for what? What are you going to trade him for? You're going to trade him for a small forward? You're going to trade him for a better like power forward to play next to Turner? Like, you need to make it like, it needs to make sense to get rid of a player for them. You can't just be like, well, they can't figure it out. You know, they could still find minutes for him. Like, I think that Golden State proves that you can have multiple people on the floor at the same time in a way, or not necessarily at the same time, but like, you know, substitute them in and out, play them at different times, play different players together at certain times. So I don't think just trading a player for nothing that makes sense, just to trade him because it doesn't fit, isn't really the right mentality.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Indiana, the question with Indiana is probably the biggest puzzle in the NBA. It's like that one question that nobody really has an answer to. Who should they keep, Turner or Sabonis? And I think that Boston is just waiting for them to say Sabonis so they can trade for Turner.
Yeah, but I mean, we keep going back and forth on this. We keep saying about the same things over and over again. Turner and Sabonis work together now. Work together. Yes, no, maybe so. Who knows?
Real quick, you saw how Boston's waiting, but if I'm Indiana, why would I trade for Boston? What can Boston offer me?
Memphis is big if Memphis keeps playing as well as they have.
That doesn't sound very enticing to me.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good enough for me. You also got to remember, and like it's so easy to see this, but you realize that like Boston is Indiana's competitor. So, so the next team I had was the Miami Heat. So this one's actually pretty tricky to come up with a resolution because they've been playing really well and they've exceeded expectations. And it's not as simple as just like, oh, go get another star, because that's a dumb resolution. Because that's just, like, how often does that happen? Even though it seems to be happening a lot, how often does that actually happen? So the resolution I came up with is try to somehow package Dion Waiters with a pick or some young talent in order to get him away from Miami. And if possible, get a player that you can actually play on your rotation. So you can move on to become a better team and almost like be in the top tier of the East below. Because I feel like they're kind of in the middle with everybody else. That's not the Bucks, but if they can get another player that they can add to the rotation that's effective, they can maybe move up a step above. And Dion Waiters is a cancer for that team. He is awful. He's probably never going to play another Heat game ever. And I would actually say he's the most untradeable contract right now in the NBA because no one wants him. Like, no one could even, like, fathom the idea of having him on their team. But if they can somehow convince a team to take him, that, to me, is a reservation. That's what they should try to do.
I just think they should keep Dion, dude. They're saving so much money. Every time they suspend him, they don't have to pay him. That's like, come on. Like, as a team, doesn't that sound great? You don't need him. You have a player that you don't have to pay, and you still winning games. Why does it matter?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just think that the Heat, really, honestly, the resolution needs to just keep doing what they're doing because it seems to work, honestly. Like, they do need another player to take them over the edge to be, like, a serious, like, 100%. Like, if things go the right way, they can win the title. I mean, you kind of make a case for that right now. But if you look at, like, a team needs to have, 2 All-Stars. They might technically already have 2, maybe 3 All-Stars, depending on how the voting goes and who gets injured or not.
I think straight up, they have 2.
Well, yeah, they have Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler for sure. And I think Toronto proves that with decent coaching, you can get far, and luck too. But I'm not saying Jimmy Butler is like up to Kawhi's level in a way.
No, but the problem is, and it's kind of the thing that I feel like kind of overshadows Miami, is they're getting pretty good play from young players. And young players don't tend to do that well come playoff time. And so that's kind of my worry. Like, if they could somehow trade Dion Waiters and get a veteran player that is a decent role player that they could put in the playoffs just in case, like the rookies just aren't performing well.
But speaking of like contenders though in the East, you want to take us to the next team, Lewis?
Yeah, so I'm gonna keep this one short and sweet. It's the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, they've already done everything they can. I guess the resolution would be to just win the championship. Prove to Giannis, or maybe even just make it out of the East. Prove to Giannis that you're a real contender. Eliminate that idea that come playoffs, the Philly's gonna take them out or another team's gonna take them out. Show the NBA that you're a real threat and you have an actual team that you can build around Giannis, and Giannis won't have a reason to leave you guys. And that's short and simple. Just win the championship.
Yeah, I agree.
I would say also pay the lottery tax.
Pay the lottery tax. That's what we have to do. You need to pay the lottery tax.
The luxury tax, my bad.
Oh, no. What are you talking about? You don't know about this? There's this thing called the lottery tax. That's what the Lakers did.
That's good, sir. That's Lewis, that's a good joke. You should learn.
I didn't get it.
You didn't get it?
No.
Oh.
The lottery
It's okay,
tax.
Lewis. It's
Just
okay.
explain it to me.
We're not doing this, all right?
Just explain it to me right now.
It's all right. Like oh my god.
What, are you
lottery
serious, Lewis?
tax.
You don't get it?
So like they had to pay in order to get a good lottery pick.
Because they always get good lottery
It's a
picks.
secret tax.
Oh, because they always seem to get the second pick in the draft.
Yeah,
Or at least a high pick.
It's a lottery tax. Oh my god, you moron.
Oh, like how the Cavs did it when LeBron left.
Yes.
Yeah, they were willing to pay it.
They're willing to pay the lottery tax.
The Knicks are too stingy, so they're not willing to pay for it. All right, so moving on now to the New Jersey. Sorry, not New Jersey. Brooklyn Nets, Lewis. So I think really for them, it's just a matter of looking at next year in this offseason, thinking like, who are you keeping and who is expendable? Are you going to keep Dinwiddie? Are you going to keep LeVert? You know, like figure out who you're going to keep, and then figure out who you need to trade. Simple as that, honestly.
Yeah, so I figure for the New Jersey Nets, similar to the Golden State Warriors, this year is more like a wait year because of everything that's going to happen next year with Durant coming back and stuff, and with Kyrie barely playing this year too. So just figure that out and then see which players are going to be a part of your future.
Sorry, do you guys think that Kyrie's actually injured, or that the Nets like winning and they seem to not be able to win with Kyrie?
No, I actually think Kyrie's injured. I think like to say that a player is not injured is disrespectful to the player, and just that's just not correct. But I don't think it's because the Nets like winning and they don't think they can win with Kyrie. I think he's injured, and I think he's taking it easy because they're in no rush to they don't see themselves as championship contenders this year. So why bring him back? Why not let him rest for next year?
Honestly, they could easily still make the playoffs even with Kyrie barely even playing. That's how weak the East kind of is. It's not like they're playing horribly without him. Like there's some times where it's just like awful, but they're not that bad. But you know who is bad?
Yeah, my next team, the New York Knicks. And right now, I'm not gonna spend 10 minutes destroying the Knicks like I always do. But their New Year's resolution is really, really simple. Fire Steve Mills, fire Scott Perry, and do a complete overhaul of everyone in the front office. So they can sort of rebrand themselves to make themselves more attractive to top executives in the league, as well as garner interest in players wanting to play for the Knicks again. And if possible, convince James Dolan to sell the team, but I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe if he can just focus on his band and let the people that know about basketball do their job, but they just need to completely demolish their front office.
Yeah, I think they need to not be the New York Knicks anymore. They should be the New York Knickerbockers again. I honestly think they need to go throwback, go retro, like rebrand, like you were saying. Oh wait, is that not what you meant by rebrand?
That's exactly what I meant. That's exactly what I meant.
Okay, cool. I think that's a good idea. I think going back to that team, go old school uniforms, go with the really short shorts. Remind people back in the day when they were halfway decent.
They tried doing that by playing triangle offense.
Just stop. Leave.
What do you mean?
We're not making fun of them right now.
Sorry.
I wasn't. I was being very serious.
That's me making fun of them, but your New Year's resolution for the New York Knicks is just don't be the fucking Knicks.
I mean, in all honest opinion, it's essentially they need to, figure out their future as it is every single year.
My resolution for the Knicks would be fire and rebrand and become better. My new resolution for the Lakers could be like trade for Kawhi, and I think trading for Kawhi is more possible than the Knicks not being the Knicks.
Well, moving on from the most exciting team in the NBA to arguably the most boring, the Orlando Magic. And my New Year's resolution is just as boring. Don't do anything drastic. Just stick to your guns. You have some young pieces. Keep developing them. I think Jonathan Isaac has a lot of potential. And then just kind of test the market to see what you might be able to get for Aaron Gordon. But you don't have to trade him. Just kind of test the market. I think that going for a big fish like, say, DeMar DeRozan might be the wrong move in the long run. Because it's going to just set them up for purgatory in a way. They'll just be in the same situation that the Spurs are in now. Except it's in the East, so they'll probably make playoffs. But is that really where you want to be? So I just take it easy, just make the playoffs and kind of get a decent pick and then kind of build around what you kind of have.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I don't really have anything else to say.
Yeah, it's the Orlando Magic.
I agree.
You want to go on to the next team, sir?
Yeah, why not? So when it comes to the Philadelphia 76ers, I think that if they don't go far in the playoffs, or even if they do, honestly, maybe it's time to actually make a coaching change. I think that might be what their resolution should be. I know, and I'm not saying for like this season right now make a coaching change, but I think if things don't work out in the playoffs this year, that they seriously need to think about it, because I think back to when Mark Jackson was still coaching Golden State. He just couldn't get them over the hump. They weren't a bad team. He just couldn't get them over the hump. And then here comes Steve Kerr, and then look where they are now. Well, not now, but look where they were the next 5 years, 4 or 5 years or whatever. So I think maybe I don't know who exactly, but I'm just thinking that maybe a coaching change is what the team needs before making a decision like if they should trade Ben Simmons or trade Embiid or something like that.
I guess one way of looking at it would be like what Toronto did with Nick Nurse and how that kind of took them with the hump. I mean, part of it was Kawhi Leonard as well, but you never know. Sometimes that's what you need, the coaching change. I just don't know if Brett Brown is the problem or if it's that Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid just can't play together. And maybe
that's why I say they need to maybe a coaching change is the first thing to do. It's easier, I would say, to make a coaching change than try to trade one of your top players.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying, like, it's a possibility. Because Brett Brown, I think he's a good coach, but I don't know if he's the X's and O's kind of coach that's going to take you all the way, And it's like the same issue that I have with Budenholzer. I think Budenholzer's a great coach, but in the playoffs, he might not be the best coach.
I don't know. I guess we'll find out now.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out come playoffs. So for the last Eastern team I did was the Toronto Raptors. And for me, I think the resolution is to kind of realize which way they want to head. Whether they want to continue to contend and see if they can make the finals again, or if they just want to sort of do a soft rebuild. Because I think if they pay Fred VanVleet and with Siakam and OG, they have a solid base foundation to do a soft rebuild. And then they could trade Gasol and Ibaka and Lowry, maybe. I don't know if they trade Lowry because they're Canada, but definitely Gasol and Ibaka. And I think there are teams out there that would acquire both of those pieces and would give up picks for them. So if they do that, they could find that way. Or if not, then they could try to get a player, like a veteran wing scorer for them come playoffs. The problem is there's not a lot of those that are on the market right now. So that becomes an issue. So I guess my resolution for them come before playoffs and the trade deadline is, I guess in the next month, is to figure out which direction they want to head.
Yeah, I think that's a good resolution for them. I think they already have a good core with re-sign Freddie. You have OG, extend him when he's up, and then you have Siakam. And then the next step is just acquiring Giannis. And then you have a championship team right there for years to come.
Yeah, just simple. Just acquire Giannis onto the Kumpo, of course. Why didn't I think of that?
Or you guys are ready for this one? I think that the salaries. What's so funny?
I just read the resolution for the Wizards.
Yeah. Okay, so real quick, so I think that if the Toronto Raptors can package, I think Gasol and maybe Norman Powell, or either Ibaka Norman Powell or Lowry Norman Powell, they might be able to trade for LeBron James.
Of course, yeah. No, but in all honesty, I mean, honestly, if I'm Toronto, who knows really what to make of this? Like, you really don't know. I don't think they'll know exactly in a month what they're going to be. I think what's going to end up happening is that they're going to play out the year. They'll probably do pretty decent at the playoffs. And then next year, they'll still have Lowry, probably. Gasol probably will be on a different team.
Yeah, and Ibaka will be on a different team. That's what I'm saying. So they're gonna get nothing for Ibaka and Gasol.
Regardless, I just think that most teams in the NBA would probably love to be where Toronto's at, where they can kind of do a soft rebuild is the idea, where they can rebuild while staying competitive.
Take us home, Lewis. Come on, take us home.
So to finish it off, we got our capital. We have the Washington Wizards, and I think that the resolution for them was really easy. Just find a way for John Wall to retire. Simple as that. Like, what's the thing that's holding them back? It's that albatross contract. I think John Wall's like the third or fourth highest paid player in the entire NBA, and that dude hasn't played in like 5 years, it feels like. Just get him out of your books somehow. I don't know how. Just remove him from your books.
Wait, so are you saying that John Wall, Bradley Beal, Davis Bertans, Rui Hachimura, Isaiah Thomas coming off your bench, and Miles Turner as your center isn't gonna get you to the playoffs?
No, I'm saying that exactly. Yes. The other option is, I think that my real resolution was they kind of already have like a guy that like most teams would want. And if they just build around Davis Bertans, they might have a championship team.
The problem with the Wizards is they're kind of doomed.
They don't really have the pieces. They don't have the cap space to build around Bradley Beal. And they just extended him, so I can't make my resolution trade Bradley Beal. So it's just, I don't know. Just try to get some defensive players.
I think, honestly, the hardest part is just John Wall. Like, it's the hardest part. That straight up eats way too much of the cap.
Yeah, I don't mean in a bad way, but, like, dude, if John Wall retired, that team would be, like, that'd be like a saving grace. If John Wall just decides to retire and then they don't have to keep paying him.
I just think that for the next couple of years, they're probably just doomed for mediocrity.
Sadly. So that's the 15 resolutions for the 15 teams in the East. And so with that, we'll close the first half, and then we'll release the Western Conference resolutions and our resolutions next week. Yeah, so thanks for listening to us ramble for another 48 minutes or less. And like always, make sure to leave a review, leave a comment. We read everything you guys write, which is nothing. And hit that subscribe button. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great New Year's. Have a great New Year's. Oh, wait, no, this is after New Year's, right? So have a great start to your new year.
Yeah, I hope your resolutions are already over, because most people's resolutions last 2 days.
Yeah, share our share your resolutions to us.
Like, maybe your resolution is to not listen to us anymore. Let us know that. You know? That's a good resolution.
I think our resolution is to keep, as a group, is to keep doing this next year. And just keep growing our brand, you know? We love talking about the NBA and fucking on the New York Knicks.
Yeah, I think
fucking
that
the New York
Lewis needs to
Knicks?
take some
No,
classes
fucking
on
on.
delivery. I think
What?
Lewis needs to take some classes on some delivery, on how to deliver his jokes. That's probably my resolution for Lewis.
I think it's just that you don't have a sense of humor, man. And it also sucks.
It's not just me.
Okay, it also sucks when you make me write all my jokes beforehand, so you already know they're coming.
Not necessarily.
Sawyer, remember this. Kettle cooked. And not just any kettle cooked. Barbecue.
You didn't write that one down and nobody laughed.
So bad, dude.
You didn't write that one down and nobody laughed.
Yeah, fuck you guys. All right, bye.